Now, in traditional school discipline, when a student acts out and the teacher has had it, they send the student with a slip of paper to the office. The student stalks off angry and maybe a little scared, but they cover it up with bravado and rudeness. Then they wait in the office. They witness exciting medical emergencies. They get to overhear the secretary's private lives. And as the school administrator, all you really have is the slip of paper and then the kids' version of events of what happened. So what are you really supposed to do? You can talk to them and maybe give them a detention or call home. And then you send them back to class and the teacher asks the kid, what did they do to you? And to save space, the student smirks and they say nothing. And we're right back where we started. It's so demoralizing for teachers, and it's wildly ineffective at changing behavior. There's got to be a better way. So the restorative twist that I want to suggest is the restorative chat. It's an informal, facilitated conversation using the restorative questions to solve problems and get students back on track. And the beauty of it is it can take place right outside the classroom door. Now, when we send students to the office, it takes a lot of time out of class. An average office visit can easily take an hour, walking, waiting, talking, consequences, and then going back to class. And during that time, the teacher has no voice. Their version of events isn't even shared. Their feelings aren't acknowledged, and their ideas about fixing the problem aren't even heard. And that's going to weaken the teacher-student relationship. It's going to weaken the classroom community. We can't repair what went wrong in the classroom without the teacher. So the administrator can actually do very little to change what happens next, which is why we never really see lasting behavior change. Now, a restorative chat is a lot more efficient. You're going to pull the student into the hallway or maybe take a short walk. The student will spend less time out of class. You're going to acknowledge the teacher's feelings because they're actually brought into the conversation. It's going to build the teacher-student relationship, and it'll repair harm that's occurred in the class. And when relationships are repaired, behavior can actually change. So the steps for restorative chat are: first, call for a facilitator. Now, this could be anyone trained in the restorative questions: an administrator, a counselor, an intervention teacher, a campus supervisor. And while you wait, calmly complete an office referral form. That's going to be important data for your school. When the facilitator arrives, the teacher's going to hand them the referral form, tell them briefly what happened. Then the facilitator is going to speak privately with the student in the hallway. They're going to use the restorative questions, and if the student's upset, they're going to take a little bit of a walk. Now, the job of the facilitator is to help the student process the questions, get calm, be articulate, and take responsibility. You can download the restorative questions below in the description, and I've adapted them for younger children and multiple other languages. So a lot of schools have the restorative questions posted in the hallway. They wear them on lanyards, and they just tell the kids that whenever anybody's having issues or problems, these are the questions that we follow. Even if it's adults or kids, it's the normal way that we process conflict in our school. When the student is ready, the facilitator will bring them back to the class and invite the teacher into the hallway. Now, here's something really important. Both the student and the teacher need to be ready. Restorative chats only work when people are calm. Now, if the teacher isn't ready, they need to say something to the student. Something like, talking to you is really important to me, so let me get this math lesson finished and then we can talk. Now, that's not avoidance, that's wisdom. You're going to be making a commitment to repair the relationship and not just react in the moment with how you're feeling. Maybe it'll be at the next break or at lunch or after school. As long as both people are calm, it's fine to wait. Now, when both people are ready, the facilitator will guide the conversation. The student will answer the restorative questions again, and this time they're going to be clear and calm, and then the facilitator will ask the questions of the teacher. From your perspective, what happened and what did you think and feel? What impact did this have on you and on the class? And maybe what's been the hardest thing for you and what needs to happen for things to be made right? Now the teacher gets to say calmly, when you disrupted the lesson, it was frustrating and confusing. Or when you called me that name, it hurt because I care about you. because teachers are people too. And this part really matters. Keep the conversation quiet and private. Speak kindly with a genuine heart towards repairing harm and restoring the relationship. This isn't about shaming. It's not about proving a point. It's really about rebuilding trust and increasing the likelihood that this student will work with you again tomorrow. Then the facilitator is going to help the teacher and the student problem solve. They might ask the student, hey, can you do what your teacher's asking you to do? Or is there anything else you need to be successful? And then together they're going to figure out how to prevent this from happening again. So common examples of repair might be a sincere apology, sometimes both from the student and the teacher. Maybe they're going to have a classroom problem-solving circle about the issue. So maybe replacing or repairing something broken, or maybe the student will come and help out during a break or lunch. And sometimes the student could suggest a modification, like maybe they need to sit closer to the teacher or move away from their peers. Once I had a student ask the teacher not to call him out in front of his peers because he felt really embarrassed. So he and the teacher, they created a secret signal. It was a funny phrase that only they knew. And that was how she corrected him. So that's repair. And in PBIS language, those we would call classroom modifications. So even unorthodox ideas can work if both people are willing to try. When teachers call for support, it's not a handoff. In a restorative school, the student still belongs to the teacher and to the classroom community. So those relationships are still there. But when you meet the student at the classroom door, instead of sending them all the way to the office, teachers are actually going to feel a lot more supported because the support is a lot more immediate and closer to the classroom. Principals will feel much more effective because behavior is actually going to change, and students are going to feel treated with dignity while still being held accountable. And that's the power of the restorative chat. Look, we've been sending kids to the office for probably over a century. If you shifted to meeting them at the classroom door instead, what would change in your world? Tell me in the comments. I would love to hear your thinking.